Greetings and salutations. This is Fragments of Memory, aka your friendly neighborhood armchair philosopher. Now, I was watching a video by yoliciousone, and she and I have had our little exchanges and everything. One of the things that she brought up, I looked at a couple of her videos, but one of the things she brought up was something called a personal constitution. So this is sort of a response to that. Not necessarily to start an argument or to start a war, just a response, a reaction, if you will. She ascertains that people need their own personal constitutions. And this is sort of a self-determined code of morals, ethics, and honor. And it's not a bad idea. She talked about how a lot of people claim, hey, I'm a Christian. Hey, I'm Jehovah's Witnesses. Hey, I'm Seventh-day Adventist, whatever the case might be. And these same people act contrary to what they believe in. She even spoke about how many people who say they're Christians are still supporting the R&B singer R. Kelly even after we found out, hey, he's been doing some very, very bad things with young underage girls. And what she was saying is how people seem wishy-washy in regards to their moral constitution and convictions, etc., etc. Now, I always like to offer this quote when it comes to people. It's by the philosopher La Rochefoucauld, and his quote is, and I've often quoted him, is, "Hypocrisy is the homage that vice pays to virtue." So, again, vice knows it's bad, but it has to at least give the pretense of virtue. It's saying, hey, virtue, you better than me. And we often do that. And it's interesting you talked about a personal constitution because Benjamin Franklin, one of the founding fathers, he kept a journal of his ideals and core values. And of course, he would tally up at the end of the day. He would have a moment of self-reflection, a moment of introspection, a moment of examination, of self-examination, and of course of having a sort of taking self-inventory, taking a stock taking, if you will, where he would go back in his day and reflect and go, did I do good here? Did I do bad here? Was I really good here? Was I really bad here? And he would tally them up. So every evening he would do this. And again, on the wishy-washy, people being wishy-washy, I'm going to say this, and this may sound like a cop-out, but it's not intended to be a cop-out. We are not perfect. And again, this is in no way to attempt to justify what wrongdoers do and or give them a pass. Many times we all fall short of our own principles daily, whether it's the Bible, whether it's the Quran, whether it is the Gita, whether it is the Vedantic scriptures, whatever belief system or religion you follow. We fall short of the tenets that we profess. There's even there's a good blog called The Art of Manliness by one Brett McKay, and he and his wife do it. And one thing Brett McKay does, The Art of Manliness, great blog, you should check it out. And it tells men, like, what is manliness? How do we apply it in our lives? And it's a blog that has really been some great insight to me. Now, Brett McKay and his wife, to a certain extent, Kate McKay, they discussed this in their various posts. They talked about defining your core values. And what defining your core values does, according to the Art of Manliness website, is one, it gives you purpose. So you know where you're going. You have direction. It prevents us from making bad choices because, hey, we're not going to disrespect our code of honor here. We're going to know what we believe and why we believe it, and then of course we're going to act on it. It gives us confidence and it makes life simpler. So I can get with that. And again, I will reiterate this. Man and woman are creatures of virtue and vice. We have our urges, we have our impulses and desires. Hence why sometimes we may have these high ideals and high principles, but there are times where even we violate our own principles. We can be selfish. We can be fearful and apathetic at times. And sometimes our fear may override our intent to do good. We have doubts. We can experience pain, both physical and psychological, mental and emotional. Remember this. Remember the shows where they would show a person. Remember when they would show those shows with a person? I was looking at my notes here. Yes, I take notes so I can at least stay on track. Remember the TV shows. Maybe you saw an old Flintstones cartoon, or maybe you saw the old Warner Brothers cartoons, where somebody would they're confronted with making a choice, and then the devil pops on one shoulder and says, on one shoulder and says, "Hey, go on ahead and do that," or "Don't do that," and then poof, the angel pops on the other shoulder and says the opposite. I feel that's how people are. I feel that's how we are. We have those things. Yes. Human free will. We are still responsible for our actions. However, we can even get into where the Bible talks about the flesh warring against the spirit and vice versa. You know, where the devil says do it, the angel says don't do it, or vice versa. So you've probably seen that in TV shows. So I think this is what goes on with human beings every day. We have choices to make. Now, do we choose in fear? Do we choose in faith? Do we choose in hope? Do we choose in selfishness? Do we choose in altruism? These are the things we need to ask. So, I agree with you 100% that one needs their own personal code of conduct. Now, where I sort of part ways with you a little bit, just a little, not major, but just a little, is where you say, oh, we don't need a book because I know right from wrong. Well, yes and no. Yes, we feel that thing of consciousness and guilt, but we are also people that have been taught certain things. We have been taught certain things. I don't think that knowing right from wrong is automatically intrinsic. None of us were made in a vacuum. We were made, and then of course, our surrounding environments educated us, gave us this particular worldview. Our own experiences have given us a certain way to view the world, and that does color how we interact with this world. So, myself, I grew up in the church. And by the church, I don't mean a particular denomination, just that you know what I mean. I grew up in Christianity, evangelical Protestant Christianity here in the Midwest, St. Louis. So I have that particular vibe, that particular concept of the world to a certain degree. Yes, I've explored other faiths. Yes, I have even converted to another faith. But what I've also done is that upbringing is still with me. So many of my filters and lenses are going to be processed through that. If you follow me. So it's going to be processed through, hey, he was raised in the church. Hey, he was a Cub Scout. Hey, he was in drama when he was in high school. So all of that's going to have certain things and impact me in certain ways. There's even a really good radio interview. I forget where the radio program was, but you can probably YouTube it here. But Saul Williams, the great, brilliant poet and actor and performer, he talked about how your diet is more than what you eat. Just as people are careful with their diet, be careful about the television you watch. Be careful about the movies you go see. Be careful about the music you listen to. Because it's going to become a part of you, and you are going to express that in some way. And he was saying this in reference to rap music. How many of these rappers only listen to rap music, so they don't expand their musical palette. So they don't know about other stuff. Now I'm getting slightly off topic here, but I just wanted to point out that where I disagree with you is that we're all coming from some place, as I'll say, until the day I draw my last breath. So those things are going to have influenced us. Those things have molded and shaped us, which can also affect what we consider moral and what we consider immoral. But again, spot on with having your own code of conduct if one should try to follow that particular code of conduct. Again, I want to also say I enjoy many of your videos because it does allow me to look at a perspective that I don't normally see. Like, look, I'm not a woman, so there's a lot of experiences that you as a woman are going to go through that I as a man, it's going to be foreign to me. You might as well be speaking ancient Sumerian or Babylonian or something like that to me, because that's virtually what it is to me, because I do not live life as a woman. And maybe your age group and maybe your socioeconomic class also come into that too. So that's pretty cool though. But no, I really dug your vid about having a personal constitution. People out there in YouTube land, I think everyone should sit down, find out what they really are about, write it down, and then just commit it to memory. Write it down, post it on your forehead, put it on your wall, keep it in a little book with you, and just look at it and reflect. Because I think things need to be reflected. So that's just my 2 cents. I want to thank you guys very much for tuning in. If you have any comments or feedback, you know how to put down the comments or make a response video. Thank you and peace.